My boyfriend keeps laughing with my female coworker and teaching her his language. She still thinks she's learning how to flirt. My boyfriend Marco moved here from Brazil 2 years ago, and his Portuguese is something I've always loved about him. The way he'd whisper things in my ear, teach me little phrases. It felt intimate and special. Then he started working at my office as a software developer. That's when he met Amber. She's the new marketing coordinator, blonde and bubbly, and always asking questions. Within a week, she was at Marco's desk every morning with her coffee, asking him to teach her Portuguese phrases. He'd laugh and write things down for her, and she'd practice them out loud while he corrected her pronunciation. At first, I thought it was sweet. Amber told everyone she wanted to learn Portuguese to impress a guy she'd been talking to on a dating app. Marco seemed happy to help, and I trusted him completely. But then I started noticing things. When Amber would greet our Brazilian clients in Portuguese, they'd get this weird look on their faces. Not impressed or charmed, but confused. Sometimes they'd look at Marco, and he'd quickly change the subject. Our office has 3 other people who speak Portuguese, and I watched them react strangely whenever Amber used her new phrases. One of them, Rita from accounting, actually pulled me aside after a meeting. She asked if Amber was okay, if something was wrong with her. I asked what she meant, and Rita just shook her head and said Amber had been saying very strange things to people. When I pressed for details, Rita got uncomfortable and walked away. Amber kept learning more phrases from Marco. She'd write them in her notebook during lunch while he'd lean over her shoulder, correcting her handwriting. She was so proud of herself, using Portuguese greetings with everyone, signing her emails with Portuguese phrases that Marco taught her. But I noticed our boss started avoiding her. The clients stopped requesting meetings with her. The other Portuguese speakers would literally leave the room when she started practicing, and Marco just kept teaching her more, staying late with her at the office to practice conversation. He said she was a dedicated student and he wanted to help her succeed with this dating app guy. Last Tuesday, I walked past the break room and heard Amber on the phone speaking Portuguese to someone. She was using this phrase over and over, something Marco had taught her that she thought meant, "I'm interested in getting to know you better." The person on the phone hung up. She tried calling back 3 times. Each time they hung up immediately. That afternoon, I watched from my desk as the head of our Brazilian partnership division came out of his office and walked directly to HR. 30 minutes later, Amber was called into a meeting. She came out crying, saying she didn't understand what she'd done wrong. She kept saying she was just trying to be friendly, just using the phrases Marco taught her. Rita from accounting finally told me what was happening. Every phrase Marco had been teaching Amber, every greeting, every friendly expression she thought she was learning, they were all insults, crude, vulgar things. The phrase she'd been using to greet clients translated to something so offensive that Rita wouldn't even repeat it in English. Amber had been walking around for 6 weeks telling people these horrible things, thinking she was being charming and flirty. She'd written them in emails to international clients. She'd said them on phone calls. She'd practiced them in meetings, all while Marco sat there watching, laughing with her, encouraging her to use them more. I went to Marco's desk where he was packing up his laptop. He saw my face and knew I'd figured it out. But what he told me next made everything so much worse. The rest of the story is on my channel or linked below. I didn't teach her those things as a joke, Marco says, his voice eerily calm as he continues packing his laptop. She wanted to learn Portuguese, so I taught her. I stare at him, my hands shaking with a rage I've never felt before. The conference room is empty, except for us, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the table, where just hours earlier, Amber had been enthusiastically practicing what she thought were friendly phrases. "You taught her to call our Brazilian executives dickless monkeys and to tell them their mothers sell themselves on street corners," I hiss, repeating what Rita had told me. "You had her signing emails with phrases that translate to, 'I perform sexual acts for money.'" Marco shrugs, zipping up his laptop bag. "It was funny. You should have seen their faces." "Funny?" My voice rises. She could lose her job. Our company could lose millions in contracts. How is any of this funny? He finally looks up at me, his expression hardening. She was always at my desk, always touching my arm, laughing at everything I said, always asking me to teach her Portuguese so she could impress some guy. He spits out the last words, like I was her personal language tutor. "So you decided to humiliate her, to sabotage her career?" "She was flirting with me," Marco says defensively. "Every day, right in front of you. I thought you'd appreciate me putting her in her place." Before I can respond, my phone buzzes with a message from HR asking both Marco and me to come to the conference room immediately. I show Marco the text, and he rolls his eyes. Whatever. They can't prove I did it on purpose. The walk to HR is silent and tense. When we arrive, Amber is already there, her eyes red and swollen. Rita sits beside her, along with our HR director, Claudia, and the head of our Brazilian partnership division, Mr. Oliveira. The room feels charged with tension. "Please sit down," Claudia says, her voice professional but cold. She looks directly at Marco. "We've asked Rita to provide translations of the phrases you taught Amber." Rita slides a document across the table. One column contains the Portuguese phrases, another contains what Amber thought they meant, and the third contains the actual translations. Seeing them written out makes my stomach turn. Amber stares at the paper, her hand covering her mouth. "This can't be right," she whispers, looking up at Rita. "He said this meant, 'I'm excited to work with you on this project.'" She points to a phrase that, according to Rita's translation, actually says, "I would rather eat garbage than work with you." "I'm afraid the translations are accurate," Rita confirms gently. "I've had 3 other native speakers verify them." Mr. Oliveira clears his throat. "Miss Thompson, you used these phrases in emails to our executive team in Sao Paulo, during video conferences, and in person when they visited last month." Amber's face crumples. "I had no idea. I trusted." She can't finish her sentence as tears stream down her face. Marco laughs. Actually laughs. "Come on, it was just a joke. Office pranks happen all the time. This wasn't a prank, Mr. Oliveira says sharply. "This was deliberate sabotage that has damaged our company's reputation with a partnership worth over $12 million annually. Our CEO received a call this morning from their board demanding an explanation." Claudia slides another document across the table. "We've received an email from their legal team. They're threatening to terminate all contracts contracts with us unless immediate action is taken. Marco's smirk finally fades. They can't be serious. It was just a few words. Words matter in international business, Mr. Oliveira says. Miss Thompson unknowingly insulted the daughter of our largest Brazilian partner by suggesting. He stops, unable to even repeat what Amber had innocently said. Amber is sobbing now, her shoulders shaking. I used these in the marketing campaign materials, she whispers. The ones that went live yesterday. The room falls silent. The marketing campaign. The one that cost us nearly $100,000 to produce. The one that's currently plastered across billboards in Sao Paulo. Marco, Claudia says, her voice ice cold. Your employment is being terminated, effective immediately. What you've done constitutes creating a hostile work environment, sabotage of business relationships, and gross misconduct. You can't fire me for teaching someone a language, Marco protests, but his voice lacks conviction. We're not firing you for teaching a language, Claudia responds. We're firing you for deliberately teaching vulgar, offensive content to a colleague with the intent to cause harm to both her and the company. Marco turns to me, eyes wide. Are you going to let them do this? We've been together for 2 years. I look at Amber, still crying as Rita rubs her back, then at the translations on the table, then back at Marco. The man I thought I knew, the man who spent 6 weeks systematically humiliating a woman and jeopardizing international business relationships for his own amusement. Yes, I say quietly, I am. Security arrives to escort Marco out. As he's leaving, he turns back. She deserved it, he says loud enough for Amber to hear, and you're choosing her over me. After he's gone, Claudia turns to Amber. As for your situation, Amber, we recognize you were a victim here. However, the damage to our Brazilian relationships is significant. We'll need to place you on probation, pending a full investigation. Amber nods miserably. I understand. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, I tell her. Marco manipulated you. I should have verified, she says. I should have checked with someone else. Mr. Oliveira sighs heavily. We need to draft an official apology to our partners, and we need to pull the marketing campaign immediately. As the meeting concludes, I find myself lingering behind with Amber. She looks destroyed, her career potentially in ruins because she trusted the wrong person. How will I ever face anyone again? She asks me, her voice barely audible. Everyone will know. Everyone will remember me as the girl who called the CEO's wife a. She can't finish the sentence. We'll fix this, I promise, though I have no idea how. Marco is gone. We'll explain what happened. As we leave the conference room, I notice people in the office already splitting into groups, whispering. Some look sympathetically at Amber, while others shake their heads. I overhear someone say, she should have verified before using foreign language in official communications. My phone buzzes with a text from Marco. Hope you're happy with your decision. You'll regret taking her side. I block his number without responding and walk Amber to her desk so she can collect her things before going home. The office feels different now, charged with tension and divided loyalties. As I help her gather her belongings, I realize that Marco's prank has done exactly what he intended. It's humiliated Amber, damaged her reputation, and potentially derailed her career. But it's also shown me exactly who he is, and that's someone I never want to see again. The office feels different now. It's been 3 days since Marco was escorted out by security, and the tension is palpable. People have split into distinct camps, those who think Marco was treated unfairly versus those horrified by what he did to Amber. The break room conversations go silent when I walk in, and I've caught several of Marco's friends from engineering glaring at me across the office. They're acting like you got him fired, Rita says, sliding into the chair next to mine with a cup of coffee. Not like he sabotaged international business relationships worth millions. Has Amber come back yet? I ask, looking toward her empty desk. Rita shakes her head. HR gave her the rest of the week off. The poor girl is devastated. I'm about to respond when my phone buzzes with a notification. It's a LinkedIn message from someone named Daniela Ferreira. The name sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't place it until I open the message. Hello, you don't know me, but I worked with Marco at Nexus Technologies before he joined your company. I saw his post defending his cultural humor and recognized the pattern. He did something similar to an intern at our company 2 years ago. I thought you should know. My stomach drops. I click on Marco's profile and see the post she's referring to. It's a long rant about how Americans don't understand Brazilian humor and how teaching someone a few colorful phrases shouldn't be grounds for termination. The comment section is filled with his friends supporting him, calling the company overly sensitive and suggesting Amber should have done her research. Rita, I say, turning my screen toward her, did you know Marco did this before? Her eyes widen as she reads the message. I had no idea, but it makes sense. This was too calculated to be his first time. I message Daniela back, asking for more details. Her response comes quickly. The intern was Korean, trying to learn Portuguese for a project. Marco taught her obscenities that she used in a presentation to our Brazilian partners. She was so humiliated she quit the next day. HR buried it with NDAs. I forward the exchange to Claudia in HR, my hands shaking. This wasn't just a momentary lapse in judgment. This was a pattern of behavior. My phone rings. It's Mr. Oliveira. We need you in the conference room. Now, when I arrive, the room is filled with grim faces. On the screen is a PowerPoint presentation with our company logo and what I assume is Portuguese text. This is from Amber's marketing campaign, Mr. Oliveira explains, his voice tight. The one that went live in Sao Paulo 3 days ago. What does it say? I ask, though I already know it's nothing good. Rita, who's also been called in, translates hesitantly. The headline says something like, we want to perform sexual acts with your business. And the tagline at the bottom, she winces. It contains vulgar references to body parts and suggests our company wants to do inappropriate things to Brazilian businesses. Our partners at Global Tech Brazil have terminated their contract, Mr. Oliveira says flatly. That's $12 million annually, gone. And they're demanding we pay for removing all marketing materials immediately. But Amber didn't know. I protest. She was deceived. Intent doesn't matter when you've insulted an entire country's business community, Claudia says, entering the room with a thick folder. The damage damage is done. Our legal team is preparing for potential lawsuits. My phone buzzes again, a text from an unknown number. Hope you're happy with yourself. Marco was just having fun, and now his career is ruined. You're next. It's followed by 3 more similar messages from different numbers. Marco's friends are harassing me, I tell Claudia, showing her the messages. Document everything, she advises. We'll need it for the investigation. After the meeting, I head to Amber's desk, hoping to find her notebook with the phrases Marco taught her. I need to understand the full scope of what he did. As I'm searching, I notice a file on her computer labeled International Communications Archive. Inside are dozens of emails Amber sent to various international partners, not just Brazilian ones. With growing horror, I discover Marco helped her with translations for our German and Portuguese-speaking clients in Africa too. I call Rita over to check the Portuguese emails to Angola and Mozambique. These are all wrong, she confirms, scrolling through. He had her telling our Angolan partners that their country is worthless and that we're only doing business with them out of pity. He sabotaged more than just the Brazilian communications, I realize. He was systematically destroying all our international relationships through Amber. That evening, I visit Amber at her apartment. She looks awful, pale, with dark circles under her eyes. Her normally immaculate living room is cluttered with tissues and takeout containers. They're going to fire me, she says dully when I tell her about the marketing campaign fallout. I'll never work in marketing again. Who would hire someone who put obscenities on billboards in a foreign country? This isn't your fault, I insist. Marco deliberately set you up. I should have verified, she repeats. The same thing she said in the HR meeting. I trusted him because... She stops, looking embarrassed. Because what? Because I thought he liked me, she admits quietly. Not romantically. I know he was with you, but as a friend. He seemed so patient, teaching me all those phrases. Her voice breaks. I told everyone I was learning for some guy from a dating app, but the truth is, I just wanted to impress people at work, to show I could be international too. My heart aches for her. Marco did this to someone else before. I tell her about Daniela's message. This is who he is. He enjoys humiliating people. Her eyes widen. There's more, she says, pulling out her phone. After he was fired, he texted me. She shows me the message. Hope you enjoyed your Portuguese lessons, puta. Next time, use Google Translate. Puta means, I know what it means now. She cuts me off. I've been learning what all those phrases really meant. She shows me a translation app on her phone. I've been going through everything he taught me. It's all horrible. The next day, Rita pulls me aside as soon as I arrive at work. You need to see this, she says, showing me her phone. They're screenshots of a WhatsApp group chat where Marco has been mocking Amber for weeks, sharing what he taught her and how she eagerly used the phrases. I got these from Paulo and it, Rita explains. He was in the group but felt bad about what was happening. Look at the dates. Marco started planning this the day he met Amber. He was... In the screenshots, Marco brags about each new phrase he teaches Amber, calling her stupid and naive. He shares photos of her practicing the phrases at her desk, unaware she's being ridiculed. The other people in the chat, including several coworkers I recognize, respond with laughing emojis and suggestions for more vulgar phrases to teach her. This is cruel, I whisper, scrolling through months of calculated humiliation. This wasn't a joke or a prank. This was systematic psychological abuse. And it's destroyed her career, Rita says grimly. The board is meeting today to decide her fate. The Brazilian executives are demanding someone be held accountable for the marketing disaster. I forward the screenshots to HR immediately, hoping they might save Amber's job. But as I walk past the conference room later that morning, I overhear Mr. Oliveira saying, the damage to our reputation is irreparable. We can't keep someone who's become the face of this disaster, regardless of intent. Marco has gotten exactly what he wanted. He's destroyed Amber's career and reputation, all because she had the audacity to be friendly and want to learn. And based on the messages I'm still receiving from his friends, he's not done with me either. I stare at my computer screen, at the email from Daniela with more details about Marco's previous victim, and I realize this was never about a joke or a prank. This was about power, control, and cruelty. And I spent 2 years of my life with someone capable of it all. Marco's text comes at 2:17 a.m. We need to talk. Meet me at Riverside Park tomorrow, 1 p.m. by the fountain. I deserve a chance to explain. I stare at my phone screen in the darkness of my bedroom, my thumb hovering over the block button again. After forwarding those WhatsApp screenshots to HR yesterday, I thought I was done with him. But something stops me from blocking this new number. Maybe it's morbid curiosity. Maybe it's the need for closure. Or maybe it's because part of me still can't reconcile the man I dated for 2 years with someone capable of such calculated cruelty. You shouldn't go, Rita says when I show her the text the next morning. We're huddled in the break room, the same place where I first overheard Amber using those Portuguese phrases on the phone. He's just going to manipulate you. I know, I say, stirring my coffee absently, but I need to understand why he did this. Some people don't have a why, Rita replies, her voice gentle. Some people just enjoy hurting others. Despite her warning, I find myself walking through Riverside Park at 12:55 p.m. The fountain comes into view, water sparkling in the afternoon sun. Marco is already there, sitting on a bench with his elbows on his knees. He looks up when he hears my footsteps, and for a moment, I see relief flash across his face. I wasn't sure you'd come, he says, standing. I almost didn't. I stay a few feet away, arms crossed. You have 5 minutes, he gestures to the bench. Can we sit, please? I reluctantly sit at the opposite end, maintaining as much distance as possible. Marco runs a hand through his hair, a gesture I once found endearing, but now seems calculated, like everything else about him. What happened with Amber wasn't what you think, he begins. I've seen the WhatsApp group, I cut in. Paulo showed Rita everything. I know exactly what happened. Marco's face darkens. Paulo had no right to expose how you systematically humiliated a colleague for months, how you sabotaged international business relationships, how you cost our company millions of dollars. My voice rises with each question. Is that what he had no right to do? You don't understand what it was like, Marco says, his tone shifting to something softer, almost vulnerable. unreal. Every day watching you two together. What are you talking about? Amber and I barely interacted before all this. Are you kidding? He laughs bitterly. You were always helping her, always inviting her to lunch, always praising her ideas in meetings. She would come to your desk first thing every morning. I stare at him, stunned, because she was new and I was being nice. That's it. It wasn't just that, Marco insists. The way you looked at her. The way I looked at her, I repeat incredulously. So you destroyed her career because you were jealous of a work friendship that barely existed? Marco's face hardens. I didn't think it would go this far. It was supposed to be funny. You were supposed to laugh when you found out. Laugh? I feel sick. At what? At Amber humiliating herself? At her career being destroyed? At her getting put in her place? He says, so matter-of-factly that I recoil. She was always so perfect, so eager to please everyone. I wanted to show you she wasn't special. So you admit it, I say, my voice barely above a whisper. You targeted her deliberately to damage her reputation. He shrugs. I thought you'd appreciate the joke. We used to laugh about people at work all the time. Making an occasional comment about someone's annoying habits is not the same as systematically destroying someone's career. I'm shouting now, not caring who hears. And Daniela from Nexus Technologies told me you did the same thing there, to a Korean intern. Marco's expression freezes. She contacted you? Yes. And I forwarded everything to our legal team. This isn't entirely true yet, but his reaction confirms what I suspected. They're preparing a lawsuit against you for the damages to our Brazilian partnerships. They can't prove intent, he says, but I can see the uncertainty in his eyes. The WhatsApp group chat proves intent, Marco. You documented everything, how you planned it from day one, how you laughed about it with your friends, how you deliberately taught her worse and worse phrases as time went on. I stand up, unable to sit near him any longer, and I found out about your resume too. His head snaps up. What about my resume? You never worked at Nexus for 3 years. You were there for 8 months before you were quietly let go after the incident with the Korean intern. You falsified your employment history when you applied to our company. Marco stands too, his face flushed with anger. You had no right to dig into my past, and you had no right to destroy Amber's future. I shout. Do you have any idea what you've done to her? She's contemplating suicide, Marco. This finally seems to penetrate. His face pales. What? I visited her last night. She was researching how much Xanax it takes to overdose. She said she can't face anyone ever again, that her career is over, that she'll always be remembered as the girl who put obscenities on billboards in Brazil. Marco looks away. I didn't mean for it to go that far, but it did, and now you have to live with that. I take a step closer to him. You know what the worst part is? I actually believed you loved me, but someone who loves another person doesn't try to manipulate them into joining their cruelty. I did love you, he says, reaching for my hand. I pull away. No, you loved controlling me, just like you tried to control how everyone saw Amber. My phone buzzes in my pocket, a text from Rita. Emergency at office. Amber showed up. Not good. I have to go, I say, already turning away. Wait, Marco calls after me. What's going to happen now? I look back at him one last time. Our legal team will be in touch. And Marco, don't contact me again. I rush back to the office, finding chaos when I arrive. Amber is sitting in the conference room with HR, her eyes red and swollen. Rita pulls me aside in the hallway. She came to clean out her desk. Rita explains, but Mr. Oliveira saw her and called an emergency meeting. The Brazilian executives are demanding someone take responsibility for the marketing disaster. Through the glass walls, I can see Claudia from HR sliding papers across to Amber. What are those? I ask. A settlement agreement, Rita says grimly. They're offering her 6 months' salary if she resigns quietly and signs an NDA about the whole situation. They're firing her? I'm incredulous. After everything she's been through, they're calling it a mutual separation, Rita corrects. The board is terrified of this becoming public. A settlement is cheaper than the publicity nightmare if Amber talks. I watch Amber through the glass, her shoulders slumped in defeat as she reads through the documents. Something in me snaps. This isn't right, I say, pushing past Rita toward the conference room. Wait, she calls after me. What are you going to do? I pause at the door. Something I should have done weeks ago. I enter the conference room without knocking. All heads turn toward me. Claudia from HR, Mr. Oliveira, and 2 members of the legal team I recognize from previous meetings. Excuse me, Claudia begins. This is a private. I have a proposition. I interrupt, addressing the room but looking directly at Amber. I've been in contact with Marco's previous employer. This isn't the first time he's done something like this. There's a pattern of behavior that our company failed to catch during his hiring process. The lawyers exchange glances. I continue. I've also organized a group of Portuguese speakers, Rita, Paulo, and 3 others who are willing to help Amber learn actual Portuguese and assist with rebuilding our Brazilian relationships. That's commendable, Mr. Oliveira says carefully. But the damage is already... I'm not finished, I say firmly. I propose, instead of pushing Amber out with an NDA, we use this as an opportunity to demonstrate our commitment to making things right. We issue a formal statement explaining that a former employee deliberately sabotaged our international communications. We apologize to our partners, and we show them how we're fixing it with Amber leading the recovery efforts. The room falls silent. Amber looks up at me, a flicker of hope in her eyes for the first time in days. That's not how we typically handle these situations, Claudia says slowly. Maybe it should be, I counter, because right now, you're punishing the victim while the person who orchestrated this walks away with nothing but a termination on his record. One of the lawyers leans forward. We've been discussing potential legal action against Mr. Pereira for the damages. Good, I say. And what about supporting Amber? What about recognizing that she was manipulated and exploited by someone our company hired without proper vetting? Mr. Oliveira sighs heavily. Our Brazilian partners specifically mentioned Miss Thompson in their complaints. They may not be receptive to working with her again. Then let me talk to them, I insist. Let me explain what really happened. If they still want Amber removed from their accounts after knowing the full story, fine, but at least give her the chance to stay with the company in some capacity. Amber speaks for the first time, her voice small but steady. I want to make this right. I'll do whatever it takes. Learn proper Portuguese, apologize personally, anything. The room falls silent again as the executives consider consider. Finally, Claudia closes the settlement folder. We'll need to discuss this with the board, she says, but your proposal has merit. As the meeting adjourns, Amber catches my arm. Why are you doing this for me? I think about Marco's words in the park, about his jealousy of a friendship that barely existed. Perhaps it's time to change that. Because no one deserves to have their career destroyed by someone else's cruelty, I tell her. And because I know what it's like to discover someone you trusted isn't who you thought they were. For the first time in weeks, Amber smiles, a small, fragile thing, but real. It feels like the first step toward healing for both of us. It's been 6 months since the Marco incident, and sometimes I still catch myself checking my phone for texts from him. Old habits die hard, I guess. But today, I'm not thinking about Marco as I walk through the glass doors of Stellar Marketing Group, where Amber now works as their international communications specialist. There she is, Amber calls out, waving from across the sleek lobby. She looks different now, more confident, her smile genuine as she hurries over to greet me. Sorry I'm late, I say, hugging her. Traffic was terrible. You're right on time. The presentation doesn't start for another 15 minutes. She gestures toward a conference room where people are already gathering. I'm nervous as hell. You're going to be amazing, I assure her. You've practiced this a dozen times. Amber takes a deep breath and smooths down her blazer. I still can't believe they hired me after everything that happened. When I applied, I was completely honest about the Marco situation. That's because you turned a nightmare into a strength, I remind her. Not many people could have bounced back the way you did. After the settlement, negotiations fell apart. Our company had ultimately decided to let Amber go, but with a proper severance package and a neutral recommendation letter that didn't mention the Portuguese incident. It wasn't ideal, but it was better than forcing her to sign an NDA for a disaster she didn't create. Have you heard anything about Marco? Amber asks as we walk toward the conference room. He's been blacklisted from most multinational corporations in our industry, I tell her. Rita's brother works at Technovate, and apparently Marco applied there last month. The HR director recognized his name from an industry warning list. Amber nods, a complicated expression crossing her face. Good. He shouldn't be in a position to do this to anyone else. Inside the conference room, about 30 people are seated, waiting for Amber's presentation on workplace bullying and recovery. After what happened, she became passionate about helping others recognize and respond to workplace manipulation. Stellar Marketing hired her partly because of this passion. They wanted someone who understood firsthand how damaging toxic workplace behavior could be. Ladies and gentlemen, the CEO of Stellar begins. Today's speaker has a powerful story to share about resilience and rebuilding after workplace bullying. Please welcome Amber Thompson. As Amber takes the podium, I feel a surge of pride. 6 months ago, she was researching how much Xanax it would take to end her life. Today, she's standing tall, sharing her experience to help others. Thank you for having me, she begins. 6 months ago, I was the victim of a calculated campaign of workplace sabotage that nearly destroyed my career and my sense of self-worth. While Amber presents, my phone vibrates. I glance down and freeze when I see the name, Marco. After months of silence, he's texting me again. I've changed. I've been in therapy. Can we talk? I miss you. I stare at the message, feeling nothing but a dull ache where the sharp pain used to be. On stage, Amber is explaining how she rebuilt her confidence by learning actual Portuguese, real phrases, real grammar, with the help of Rita and other Portuguese speakers who formed a support network for her. The turning point for me, Amber says, was when I stopped seeing myself as a victim and started seeing myself as someone who could help prevent this from happening to others. I look back at Marco's text and quietly block this new number. Some people don't change. They just find new ways to manipulate. I've learned that lesson the hard way. After the presentation, Amber and I meet Rita for lunch at a cafe near Stellar's office. You were incredible, Rita tells Amber, squeezing her hand. I got emotional during the part about our Portuguese study sessions. Those sessions had become a lifeline for Amber after she left our company. Rita, Paulo, and 2 other Portuguese speakers had volunteered their time to teach her proper Portuguese, turning Marco's weapon of humiliation into a genuine skill she could use professionally. I couldn't have done it without you guys, Amber says, especially after I found out I'd been saying those horrible things in the marketing materials. Rita smiles. And now you're practically fluent. Your accent is still terrible, but the grammar is spot on. Speaking of which, I say, how's the new liaison position with the Brazil office going? After our company lost the Brazilian partnership due to Marco's sabotage, it had taken months of careful diplomacy to rebuild those relationships. Mr. Oliveira had personally flown to Sao Paulo to explain what had happened, and slowly, the Brazilian executives had come around. Not all of them, but enough to salvage some of the business. It's going well, Rita says. We've implemented that translation verification policy you helped establish. Every international communication now gets checked by at least 2 native speakers before it goes out. The cultural sensitivity training program I'd helped develop had become mandatory for all employees working on international accounts. It wasn't just about language anymore. It was about understanding cultural contexts and recognizing the damage that could be done when communication breaks down. Have you heard from him again? Rita asks, her voice dropping lower. Just today, actually. Another text claiming he's changed. I show them the message on my phone. Amber's face darkens. He tried contacting me too, about a month ago. Said he was sorry and wanted to make amends. What did you do? I ask. I told him that true amends would mean never contacting me or anyone from the company again. She shrugs. Then I blocked him. Rita nods approvingly. Good. Some relationships aren't worth salvaging, no matter how much history there is. After lunch, I walk Amber back to her office. The spring air feels cleansing somehow, like it's washing away the last remnants of those difficult months. I've been meaning to ask, Amber says as we wait for the crosswalk signal. How are things at the old company? Do people still talk about what happened? Not really. I admit, the new marketing coordinator is doing well, and the verification system has prevented any similar issues, but there's definitely more awareness now about how language can be weaponized. The light changes, and we cross the street together. Outside Stellar's building, Amber turns to me with a serious expression. You know, I never properly thanked thanked you for what you did. Standing up for me in that HR meeting, organizing the Portuguese speakers, helping me prepare for job interviews after everything fell apart. She takes a deep breath. You could have just walked away when Marco was fired. No one would have blamed you. I would have blamed me. I say simply, what he did to you was cruel and calculated, and in a way he did it to me too, making me complicit by expecting me to laugh along with his joke. Amber nods. For a long time, I kept asking myself why I didn't verify what he was teaching me. Why I just trusted him blindly. Because that's what normal people do, I tell her. We trust others until they give us reason not to. Marco took advantage of that basic human decency. Well, I've learned my lesson, Amber says with a small smile. Now I verify everything. Rita says I'm driving her crazy with my constant Portuguese grammar questions. We laugh, and it feels good, genuine, uncomplicated. As we say goodbye, I realize how far we've both come. 6 months ago, Marco's cruelty nearly destroyed Amber's career and my trust in relationships. Today, we're both standing stronger, having turned that pain into something constructive. On my way back to the office, I get a call from Mr. Oliveira. Great news, he says without preamble. Global Tech Brazil has agreed to reinstate part of our contract. Not the full 12 million, but enough to rebuild the relationship. That's fantastic, I say, genuinely pleased. What changed their minds? Your cultural sensitivity program, actually. They were impressed by the steps we've taken to prevent another incident, and he pauses. They appreciated that we didn't try to cover up what happened or blame it entirely on Amber. After we hang up, I find myself smiling. It's a small victory, but an important one. The damage Marco caused wasn't permanent after all. Not to the company, not to Amber, and not to me. My phone buzzes with a text from Rita. Paulo found more screenshots from Marco's WhatsApp group. Apparently, he's been trying to get hired at companies in our network and telling people we fired him unfairly. Wanna see? I consider it for a moment, then reply, no thanks. I'm done giving him space in my head, and I mean it. 6 months ago, Marco's betrayal consumed my thoughts. Today, I can choose to focus on rebuilding just like Amber has done, just like our company has done with its Brazilian partnerships. As I walk into our office building, I notice the new sign by the elevator. Cultural respect begins with communication. It's part of the initiative I helped create, a daily reminder that words have power to hurt, but also power to heal. I think about Amber standing confidently on that stage today, sharing her story to help others. I think about Rita and the other Portuguese speakers who volunteered their time to help Amber learn the language properly. I think about how our company, after initially wanting to sweep everything under the rug, eventually took steps to address the underlying issues. These are the relationships worth nurturing, the ones built on respect, honesty, and mutual support. Not the kind Marco offered, where cruelty was disguised as humor and trust was weaponized. My desk phone rings. It's Mr. Oliveira again. The Brazilian executives want to schedule a video conference next week, he says. They specifically asked if you could attend. Of course, I reply. I'd be happy to. As I hang up, I realize I haven't thought about Marco's text message in hours. Progress, I think to myself. Small steps toward a future where his actions no longer have power over any of us. And that, more than anything else, feels like the real resolution.